After 3 long years, Power Rangers goes into a relaunch. New series, new Zords, new suits, and new problems, which Sentai also shared in. After the destruction of the command center and a crappy departure of Aisha, we settle into the new shiny paint job of Power Rangers Zeo. Overall, it's better than the last season, but it does have a few lingering things, namely Zed, Rita, and the rest. Power Rangers is a more connected world than what Sentai usually does. The writers probably had an idea to use Rita and the rest for some overarching storyline, thanks to Sentai creating villains that put their base on the moon again, but it never went anywhere, and they shouldn't have bothered keeping the old villains around. Besides that, Power Rangers learned from Season 3, took a lot of the elements from the Sentai, and crafted a much better inner working story with the footage. Now, Power Rangers Zeo is based off Sentai's 19th season, Choriki Sentai Ohranger. The theme of the season is all about great power, so the series references the word king everywhere. This year was also a big deal for Sentai. It was celebrating the series' 20th anniversary. They were bringing back past writers and actors to work on the show. They also went back to some of the older ideas, like having the Rangers be a part of a military organization. The Ohrangers were a branch of the United Air Force Overtech Hardware Organization, UAOH for short. That's what the letters mean when you saw them in the Zord hangar bay footage. By luck again, the villains for this season was much like Rita. Majority of them were all monsters with very little human characters, so they were able to use all the footage, including the minions. And the one and only time PR kept the original Japanese title of the group, the Machine Empire. But the stories between the two shows are different. The Zeo powers were from the Zeo subcrystal, which picked and merged with the Rangers, giving them almost limitless power. The original Ohranger background to their powers was an interesting backstory. The powers were from a lost civilization back when the continents were together. These people were able to harness nature's energy. I don't want to spoil everything, but they stopped the early formation of the Machine Empire. They knew eventually they would return, so the powers were sealed away along with King Ranger till they were needed. Which brought up the first problem PR had to deal with. We had 6 Rangers from MMPR, but 5 powers were only available at the start, so they were forced to ride out Billy being a Ranger. What about the bad guys? How were they done? Like I said, we used everyone that was in a monster suit, but did change things around. Since Ohranger was going back to older story elements, the series was going to be serious, a deadly threat that would endanger the world. The Machine Empire wasn't just evil, they're deranged, hateful of emotions, wanting to get rid of humans at all costs. Zeo didn't do that. King Mondo, Queen Machina, and Prince Sprocket acted much like Rita and Zed. Emperor Bacchus Wrath took pleasure in seeing the Barlow soldiers crush buildings. He even tied up and killed one of his monsters because he started feeling emotions. While we saw Queen Machina whine and complain to Mondo, Empress Hysteria was crazy. She would get off at seeing people suffer. She even went down to Earth a few times and was happy to get rid of their mentor herself. Then you have Prince Bulldont. He loved getting personally involved in the attacks on Earth. Zeo made him much more dumb, but he was originally pretty smart and came up with the more sick monsters. The only characters that pretty much remained the same were Clank and Orbis, minus that Orbis in Ohranger was originally female. Archerina and Prince Gasket were the most changed. Zeo made Prince Gasket the older brother of Sprocket, but originally Gasket is Bulldont, an older version of him. After Bacchus died in the middle of the season, Bulldont was upgraded to Kaiser Bulldont. Archerina was Bulldont's cousin, related to Empress Hysteria. That's why she leaves instead of taking command of the Machine Empire. While Zeo didn't have that many other issues, besides Billy's horrible departure, it was Sentai that had the problems. Originally, the season was to be a more serious tone, but 2 real-world issues screwed this up. An earthquake happened a month before airing, then a terrorist attack happened 2 months after the show premiered. So after the first 10 odd episodes, the writers started retooling scripts. So the series began making more goofier episodes. Ohranger would tonally go back and forth between serious and funny too hard. Remember that episode with the Zords dancing? That's one example. And the characters didn't get many solo episodes, with Shohei being the worst of the bunch. My guess, the time it took to rewrite episodes, they didn't have time to give the Rangers their backstory episodes. It caused a huge pacing problem through the rest of the show. The viewership fell, so Ohranger ended up being one of the weakest Sentais out of the whole franchise. But the whole Sentai was going to be cancelled because of Ohranger, that was never true. I wish the writers had stuck to what they originally planned. Chasing your tail, especially with how fast they produced the show, it was never going to work. I don't hate the season, but the cast ends up being like the Ohranger cast. This is what affected characters like Rocky. When Sentai doesn't give them episodes, PR doesn't always bother fixing this, so Rocky got nothing to do. For Zeo, basically all the gear and Zords were used from Ohranger, including their new morphers, the Zeonizer. This also is the first PR season that uses them every episode. Annoyingly, they recycled MMPR's activation phrase. The Zeonizer is a two-piece morpher. Ohranger calls their changer the Power Brace. The right arm is called the Energy Brace. This houses the Storage Crystal, which is what holds the Toriki energy. The left arm's called the Back Brace. It also doubles as their communicator. Since Zeo already had communicators, they never needed to use them like this. So when the Zeorangers need to morph, they added in the hand gestures to call them in. For them to transform in Ohranger, they lift their right arm into the air as they call out Toriki, followed by spreading their arms out, then closing them as their arms cross. They finish to call out Henshin, hitting the two back buttons, completing the connection. Zeo slightly changed this, where they call out it's morphin' time first, moving their arms forward, then moving their arms into the cross position. We do end up seeing the Ohranger hand gestures once, when Tommy morphs in Forever Red. For Riki, he pushes his arms forward while crossing them, then raises his arms up using the same call-out, Choriki Henshin, then does the same gestures as the other Ohrangers. Zeo strangely didn't use the gold Zeonizer in the show. Instead, Jason uses the golden Power Staff to morph. He can morph with or without holding the Power Staff. Jason calls out it's morphin' time. He lifts his arms into a similar cross position, then also uses the Ohranger Henshin hand gestures from their start, followed by crossing his arms twice. For Ohranger, the O suits are made from Cermet fiber, and the King suit is made from Kaiser metal. Choriki is a powerful energy source, putting a lot of strain on the user's body. So the Ohrangers only use the suits when they have no other choice. This is probably where they got the idea of the Gold Ranger powers killing Jason at the end of the season. Let's look at the weapons. While Zeo only named the Zeo laser pistol in the series, the toys luckily had names for their other sidearm and combo. Ohranger loves using the word king everywhere, so the pistol is called the King Blaster. The Power Pod swords are the Battle Sticks, and the advanced Zeo laser pistol combo is the King Smasher. For their personal weapons, Zeo went back to labeling everything with power again, from the Power Sword to Power Disc. Ohranger gave them more unique names: Star Riser, Square Crushers, Delta Tonfas, Twin Baton, and Circle Defensor. Thanks to the Delta Tonfas, we know Yuji's shape is really a delta, not just a triangle. In their combo mode, it's called the Big Bang Buster, which is a reference to Vegeta's signature move, Big Bang Attack. Jason's golden power staff is called the King Stick, Zeo Power Cannon the Ole Bazooka, and the Defender Wheel is the Giant Roller. One thing I hated was that Zeo loved to just number everything. I get it, the shapes have size, so you want to number things based off that, but it was too lazy. The jet cycles were just called 1 through 5, the jetter machines used their colors, but the Zords suffer the most. Ohranger gave them names based off their animals or locations they're from. Zord 5 is Sky Phoenix, Zord 4, Grand Tauros, Zord 3, Dash Leon, Zord 2, Dogu Rander. If you don't know what a Dogu is, it's based off Japan's Dogu statues. If you're a fan of Digimon, that's what Shakomon is. Finally, Zord 1 is the Mo Loader, with the Zeo Megazord called the Ohranger Robo with its super crowned sword. The Zeo battle helmets got better names too: Wing Head, Horn Head, Graviton Head, Vulcan Head, and Cannon Head. Ohranger even named the head when it has no helmet on as Base Head. The Red Battle Zord is called the Red Puncher, and its combo with Ohranger Robo, Buster Ohranger Robo. The Super Zeo Megazord is an odd one out. Ohranger called it the O-Blocker. Each of the mechas are called by their shapes: Red Blocker, Green Blocker, etc. I guess they got the names from the block of shapes you'd give a kid to learn. They did make a Kendama mecha in another dumb episode. Warrior Wheel is called Tackle Boy. He's based off an American football player, which was weirdly ignored in PR. He's also a part of the Mecha Boy line. Any mecha that's not controlled by a Ranger, most of the time is labeled Boy. He was preceded by Jetman's Tetra Boy and Flashman's Titan Boy. The next one to follow will be Liner Boy in Go-Go 5. Go Rotor GT broke this tradition in Go-Onger. And one of the more odd allies is Auric the Conqueror, originally called Gunmajin. I'll go into more detail on him in part 2 with Riki. Which leaves us with Pyramidus, called King Pyramider, one of the most unique designs and one of my personal favorite Zords. Its alternate combos, the Super and Zeo Ultra Zords, called King Pyramider Battle Formation, and its rarely seen carrier mode, only shown 2 times. Fun fact about King Pyramiter's cockpit, it reuses Bandora's telescope neon ball and Gasha Dokuro's neon music keyboard for its controls. In part 2, I'll delve into the main cast, more on the origins of the Choriki energy, the Baranoia's monsters, and how Zeo is one of the most original story seasons done in Power Rangers. Thanks again for watching. If you have a suggestion on a topic you'd like me to do, leave a comment down below and I may use it next time.